Because you asked, I've been looking through the comments and you've asked some questions. Let's get to them.
Buffalo and Crawlin, the 10-shooter rocks.
I do read your comments, of course I do. And scrolling through on one of the last videos, I see Joseph asked, noob here, how does pole count affect a motor? Really good question, so let's talk about that. So pole count can affect the motor in a lot of ways, but it is a fairly complicated change of topology. So it's hard to say certain things all the way across the board, but we'll try to speak in generalities about pole count right now. As compared to, let's say, a 2-pole motor, an end runner with 15 millimeter long stator, let's just say that as a standard. A 2-pole motor and a 4-pole motor, the 4-pole is going to be more torque dense. It's also generally going to have more efficiency along any of the loads. It's going to have lower resistance, and generally it's going to perform a lot better. Now the 2-pole has an advantage to where you can spin it to the moon, but at the same time we can also spin a 4-pole really high as well. A 2-pole, maybe you can get 150,000 RPM before the rotor blows up. A 4-pole, with modern technology and especially with the stainless steel rotor shrouds, we can get about 100,000 RPM out of them. So the performance edge of a 2-pole really, it's not really there anymore. The 2-pole is not optimized for the diameter of 36 millimeters is really what it boils down to. So a 4-pole is going to produce more torque. But let's take it a step further. Let's go to 10-pole versus 4-pole. So properly designed, the 10-pole is actually going to have a completely different stator topology. It's going to have a completely different rotor topology. And a lot of times you may not actually be able to fit as much magnetic material into it, actual magnets itself. You also won't be able to fit as much copper in there, and you will probably end up having less steel as well going from this 4-pole to a 10-pole, because to get enough room for magnetics inside, for magnets in particular, you have to increase your rotor diameter. There's less active material in there, even though your rotor diameter ends up getting bigger. So if we keep our design the same, a 15 millimeter long stator, the 10-pole can be designed to where it has much higher torque density down low. However, as you spin it faster and faster and faster, it's going to end up having a lot of switching losses. And instead of being able to spin it up to, let's say, 100,000 RPM, you're really limited to like 50,000 RPM. And honestly, we should probably even limit it to 35,000 RPM, depending on the silicon laminations, because your switching losses, your commutation losses end up getting really, really high. And this makes the motor run hot, which means that let's say for a scenario of rock crawling, the 10-pole is going to have a lot of advantage over almost the entire spectrum except for going full speed. And then at full speed, you're going to end up having a lot of switching losses. It's going to overheat, and you just can't push it as hard, as fast as you could a 4-pole. So the 4-pole, it's not going to have nearly as good startup. It's not going to quite have the torque density, although still probably enough for crawling. But as you get higher and higher into your RPMs and higher on a vehicle speed, your 4-pole is actually going to end up having an advantage because of the loss, or the lack of switching losses, I should say. So depending on what you're going for with these two topologies, there is big changes, and it really depends on what your end goal is. So let's say you just want to rock crawl. Honestly, a properly designed 10-pole is going to be worlds above a 4-pole. But if you want to do a little bit of everything, and you want to be able to pop wheelies at full speed, and you want to be able to go really fast and push it, more like bashing at 20 miles an hour plus, the 4-pole is actually going to be a little bit better off for your goals. Now, this does depend how long you're at full speed. If you just want to blip a power here and there, the 10-pole is actually going to do really good for you. But if you are full throttling a lot, and you're in more of like a racing scenario, a rock racing sort of scenario, the 4-pole ends up having an edge just because of its efficiency under high switching loads. So high RPMs is a better way to put it. So as a general blanket statement, we can say that as you increase your pole count, your ability to produce torque at low RPMs will increase. It's generally how it works. We can get into some bleeding edge scenarios where it doesn't quite work out that way, but that's generally how it works. The trade-off, though, is that at higher RPMs and higher loads at these higher RPMs, you start to lose efficiency and you start getting a lot more heat shedding to the point to where the 10-pole no longer has an edge. And where is that? It's going to depend on everything: the weight of your vehicle, the actual speed that you're running, the gearing, how you're driving, the terrain, everything like that. It's really a complicated answer. So the lower pole count is more suitable for high speed, high load action, whereas the higher pole count is more suitable for low speed, high load action. And that's really about the best way that I can explain it. And to summarize really quick, generally, the higher the pole count, the more torque you're going to have at a very low RPM. They do become efficient at a lower RPM, but the low pole count is going to give you an edge when you're going fast, fast, fast. So I hope that explains it just a little bit. Thanks for the question, Joseph. If you have any questions, leave them down below and you may be featured in a video as well. As always, thanks for tuning in. Have a great day.
Holmes Hobbies got the motors, they're the best in the game. Whether you're crawling slow or racing for fame, the 10 shooter's got torque, it's ready to crawl. But don't forget the 4-pole when you wanna go tall. Holmes Hobbies 10 shooter, crawling real slow. Precision and torque, now you're ready to roll. 4-pole for the speed when you're racing the clock. But for low end control, the 10 shooter rocks. 10 poles in the shooter, that's power you feel. Tackling every boulder like it's no big deal. Holmes Hobbies brings the best for that steady drive. With the 10 shooter motor, your rig comes alive. Holmes Hobbies 10 shooter got that crawling finesse. 4 poles for speed, but the shooter's the best. The torque and control when the rocks get steep. Holmes Hobbies motors make your crawl a creep. To the race, Holmes Hobbies got your back. 10 shooters for crawling, keeping you on track. The 4 poles fast, but when torque's what you need, the 10 shooters got power guaranteed. Holmes Hobbies 10 shooter, crawling real slow. Precision and torque, now you're ready to go. 4 poles for the speed, racing out of the block. But for low end crawling, the 10 shooter rocks. Holmes Hobbies. Holmes Hobbies 10 shooter, crawling real slow. Precision and torque, now you're ready to go. 4 poles for the speed, racing out of the block. But for low end crawling, the 10 shooter rocks. Holmes Hobbies. Holmes Hobbies got the motors, they're the best in the game. Whether you're crawling slow or racing for fame, the 10 shooter's got torque, it's ready to crawl. But don't forget the 4-pole when you wanna go tall. Holmes Hobbies. Holmes Hobbies. 10 shooter crawling real slow. Precision and torque, now you're ready to go. 4 poles for the speed, racing out of the block. But for low end crawling, the 10 shooter rocks. But for low end crawling, the 10 shooter rocks. But for low end crawling, the 10 shooter rocks.